In this video, we begin to learn about chemical reactions of alkenes. In the functional group unit, we talked about one of the reasons why we arrange molecules according to functional group or common themes of atoms that are bonded to each other is because specific functional groups have hallmark types of reactions that they undergo. In the case of alkenes, molecules that have carbon-carbon double bonds, the main type of reaction that these molecules undergo are what we refer to as so-called addition reactions. As the name addition implies, what we do during addition reactions is we add atoms across the carbon-carbon double bond. So in the case of our starting structure here, we have our alkene group that I'm sketching out in blue. We add some reagent, X and Y here in this generic case, and what happens is that X and Y add across the carbon-carbon double bond. As a consequence of that, in order for the carbons of the carbon-carbon double bond to not exceed the octet rule, what happens is that this pi bond is lost and we're left with a carbon-carbon single bond here in the product, but at each of the two carbons, we have added X and Y, the reagent that added across the carbon-carbon double bond. And I filtered this in generically for now, because what I want to emphasize to you in this video is that there are a variety of different agents that can add across the carbon-carbon double bond of alkenes, and these reactions are relevant in a variety of different applications in the chemical synthesis of organic molecules for consumer applications. They're also relevant in processes such as digestion, as we will observe that many of the chemicals that add across carbon-carbon double bonds are ones that are found within the body. So when one ingests an alkene molecule, there are substances that can add across the carbon-carbon double bond to give the addition reaction product. So let's take a closer look at specific addition reactions. What we will focus on here is the reagent, that is, what is the identity of XY, what's adding across the carbon-carbon double bond in our generic reaction, where what we did was we took an alkene group, which we refer to as generically CC here. We brought in XY, our reagent that we'll discuss the specifics of, and what happened was X and Y added across the carbon-carbon double bond to give a carbon-carbon single bond, where then we have X and Y shown there. So what are the specific reagents that we can be dealing with when we are thinking about addition reactions? There's a variety of them. We're going to focus on the ones that are most relevant and common, and most relevant specifically toward human health and nutrition. And also these have implications when we are storing alkenes, because many of these substances are ones that are found ubiquitously in the environment, such as water. And so if we are storing an alkene in the presence of atmospheric moisture, there can be some degree of reaction with the alkene, particularly under certain conditions. So reagents that will react to add across carbon-carbon double bonds include haloacids, which I'm going to refer to as HX, such as HCl, hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid is found in abundance in the stomach, and this is referred to as a hydrohalogenation reaction. Hydro, because of the halogenation, because of the halogen. An example of this we can observe by drawing out the condensed structural formula for 2-butene. Specifically, I'm doing cis-2-butene here, but you could have used the trans isomer as well. Doesn't matter which. We'll put over the arrow here that we're adding HCl, that is the reagent that's being added. I could have also written out this organic molecule and put plus HCl, and that would be an appropriate way to show this as well. And what's going to happen during the course of this reaction is that across these two carbons of the carbon-carbon double bond, one of those carbons is going to pick up a hydrogen atom. We could call that hydrogen X, and the other will pick up the halogen, the chlorine Y, to give, as a result, one of the two carbons of the double bond bonded to X, one of them bonded to Y. In other words, one will be bonded to hydrogen, and one will be bonded to chlorine. So let's go ahead and draw out that final product. Our double bond becomes a single bond. and the carbons are bonded to H for one of them and Cl for the other. In blue, I'm indicating that we've added those across the carbon-carbon double bond. We'd still have a hydrogen bonded to each of the carbons in red, as well as the methyl group bonded to each of them. And for those wondering, it would be fine to put the methyl group right here and the hydrogen here, or you could put the methyl group here and hydrogen here. Since the bonds freely rotate now that they're single bonds, it doesn't matter where you put each of the atoms there in this particular structure. So that would represent the addition product of adding HCl across the carbon-carbon double bond. What about some other possibilities for reagents X and Y? Well, another is water. And water works particularly well in these addition reactions if there is an acid catalyst present. A catalyst acts to speed up the reaction, and a common acid catalyst that we use in the lab for these types of reactions is H2SO4, or sulfuric acid. You may also see this simply written in reactions as H superscript plus to indicate that there is acid present there. Remember that acid is a proton donor, an H plus donor. And the fact that water, particularly with a small amount of acid catalyst, can add across a carbon-carbon double bond is why alkenes should be stored dry without access to water. And so this particular reaction we refer to as a hydration reaction. Kind of a fun, cool name. When you are hydrated, that means you've taken in water into your body. When a molecule has been hydrated, that means that it has taken H2O into its chemical structure. Let's take a look at this. We'll use our cis-2-butene as our example structure. And once again, we could have also used the trans isomer of this, and the reaction would work just as capably. We bring in water and acid catalyst, which I'm going to put as H superscript plus to be generic there and streamlined. Just like the example problem above, what we're going to focus on is the alkene group because that's the functional group that's reactive. And what happens in the addition of H2O as a general generic rule that we can apply broadly here is H adds to one of the two carbons of the alkene and OH adds to the other. And so what will happen here is if we draw out the product, we've added across the carbon-carbon double bond like we did in the earlier example. And so I'm drawing in the skeleton of the molecule in red, just like we did before. And now what's added is one of the two carbons has picked up H and the other has picked up OH. And it doesn't matter which carbon gets the hydrogen, which gets the OH, due to the fact that the two carbons are totally symmetrical. They both have a hydrogen and a methyl group bonded to them. It could go either way, and regardless of which way it went in this case, due to the symmetry, you would come up with a molecule the exact same IUPAC name, one way or the other, meaning that they're the same product. Additionally, when we are looking at addition reactions, another common reaction that is particularly relevant in food manufacturing is the addition of H2 across the carbon-carbon double bond, and it's H2 with, I'm going to put in parentheses here, a metal catalyst, such as platinum, palladium, you will see listed along with the H2. We refer to this reaction type as hydrogenation. You may have heard of the term hydrogenated oils or partially hydrogenated oils or hydrogenated fats when you look at food labels. What that's referring to is unsaturated fats, unsaturated meaning that molecules that have some carbon-carbon double bonds that have been treated with some H2 and metal catalyst to result in some of the alkene molecules being subject to hydrogenation reactions to become carbon-carbon single bonds. And that changes the flavoring properties of the substance as well as things like its boiling point and melting point to give it qualities that are deemed favorable as foods. So let's show an example of this in the wild. So here is our cis-2-butene as our example again. This time we're going to react it with H2 for hydrogenation with whatever metal we want here. I'm going to put PT for platinum. Just recognize that that could be about any metal that you want. And what's going to happen here, skeleton of the initial carbons and hydrogens, the same as before, except that that carbon-carbon double bond has become a carbon-carbon single bond, and we've added across the bond the 2 hydrogen atoms that arose from our H2. So here and here are our 2 hydrogen atoms. So we've got H2 added across the carbon-carbon double bond there to give this our alkane product as a result of this hydrogenation process, which is very, very heavily industrially applied in food processing. And with that general introduction to these addition reactions of alkenes, what we'll focus on in the next video, that is video number 322, we will look at how this process takes place from the perspective of the electrons. In other words, it's not just magic by which HX adds across the carbon-carbon double bond, but how does that actually happen in terms of the processes that are taking place for that reaction to occur. We'll focus on that in the next unit, and we'll get into some details of predicting products for reactions that are a bit more complex than these scenarios where we're working with a symmetrical starting material to give a product where it doesn't matter which carbon picks up each of the 2 agents that is adding across the carbon-carbon double bond.